Hello guys, Stooges speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM React, episode number 696. And today we react to Purple Roads podcast, episode number 74, Margaret Carey of Tinkerbell. Now, before I begin this episode, I accidentally said Margaret Kelly instead of Margaret Carey because I said last episode because I wasn't paying attention like I did last time, but that's just me. But if you don't know who she is, folks, she is an American actress and radio host, best known for her work as Tinkerbell on the 1953 movie Peter Pan. Now let's react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Kerry, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Kerry Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow. The bells,
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Kerry Stinson, and I am ecstatic that you're here this week. We have such a very special guest that I'm so excited to talk to. This is Margaret Carey. She is the original, I'm going to try this close here, the original model, she's got to help me, the original live action model reference for Tinkerbell.
For Disney's Tinkerbell.
For Disney's Tinkerbell, and here she is, Margaret Carey. How are you?
I'm peachy keen. Couldn't be better.
What a pleasure to have you on the show.
It was so nice of you to ask.
Well,
wow.
I think you've met one of my friends, Bob West, who's the original voice of Barney.
Of course.
Wow.
Yes, voiceover, I do that too. I did about 600 cartoons with voiceover. Had loads of fun doing that. But I think Tinkerbell is probably the one that gets the doors open for me more than anything else.
Yes.
Well, my goodness. What an iconic character. And for you to be involved in the original is so special.
Yes, it is. It is still amazing to me how much she means to people. And I try to keep it going. I mean, she's such a wonderful character. She developed over the years into this wonderful character that people just love. And so I just love people right back, and it seems to work.
Well, I want to kind of start at the beginning because we've got time to talk here. So how did you get into show business?
Well, I was adopted when I was 3.5 because my mother passed away.
Wow.
And I was adopted by 2 people who were old enough to be my grandparents. They were 54 years old when they adopted me. They'd never seen a little 3.5-year-old in a household before. But my mother and father said, well, let's put her to work. I mean, there are people like Shirley Temple and all the other little cute little girls. Why not her? And after all, I was born May 11th, 1929, and I was in depression. I'm sure I did. No, I did. So it's only right that I should go to work. And I've been working all that time. I'm 92, just had my birthday in May.
Happy birthday.
Still working, and I have 5 shows lined up to do. Just got back from 2 of them.
Love that. I love that. So what was your first professional job?
It was Midsummer Night's Dream at Warner Brothers. And guess
Wow.
what? I played a fairy. I was as cute as a bug. I mean, running around here and running around there, not knowing anything that was going on. Neither did my mother. And most of the Hollywood mothers with us, there were lots of other little fairies. We didn't know what was going on. We just paid attention to what they said. And we found out that they wanted to hire our cast of little kids who were, say, 6 years old going on 32, that knew how to keep their mouths shut and pay attention and do what they were supposed to.
And you did it.
I did it. And it was it was the most unusual kind of childhood. Well, let me tell you something. I
Please
went
do.
on to be in 37 different major motion pictures, nothing very big in the motion pictures. But I moved into television where I went, did much better.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked on a movie called National Velvet
Yeah.
with Elizabeth Taylor.
Mhm.
And about 4 months ago, I'm 91 years old now, 4 months ago, and I get a call from the UK where they are doing a show called Hollywood Icons for
Wow.
their, what we call public broadcasting here, this channel.
Yes.
And they heard that I knew about being a child actress. And I said, whoopsie, do I know about being a child actress? I certainly do.
Well.
And then I said, you know that I worked in that movie and I doubled Elizabeth on several different of the shots
Mm-hmm.
that they had coming up where you couldn't see her face, but you could see the rest of her. Oh, really? How did that go? I said, well, you've got to remember that when you have children in a movie or on TV, it's going to cost you a lot more money because, at least at that time, and I don't think they've changed it, we
Mm-hmm.
could only work 20 minutes after, out of the hour that we had, and we could only work 3 hours before the camera.
Wow.
So to get a double that could do the same scene and keep your actor busy in school or whatever it is, that worked. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they called up and they said, we decided we would like for you to be a contributor. What's that? Well, we're going to send a cameraman to your place in Sarasota, and then I will be, this lady said, I will be on Zoom from the UK, from North London, and I will direct what you're saying. So I just, can you imagine who else would do things like that? It was just, I had
Wow.
a wonderful time. We found out a lot about being a child actor. I didn't like it, I didn't dislike it, is what I did. And when they came in and when they asked me, from the director of North London asked me, Elizabeth Taylor said one time that they stole her childhood. What do you think about that? And I said, first of all, I don't think Elizabeth said that. And second of all, I said, how can you do that? When you ask, how did you like your childhood? Your question is, as compared to what?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
really bad. And fortunately, I was talented and really, really enjoyed it. So I
Wow.
went on into television from then. I did one big movie with Eddie Cantor, where it was If You Knew Susie. I played his daughter. Did a
Mhm.
big dance number because I'm a dancer. I still dance. At 92, I still tap dance.
Now, so
Wow.
what type of dance?
Well, that one I danced on top of a table and jumped down and did the split and then jumped up. And I don't know how they talked me into it,
Oh.
but they did. And at 18, I um, I graduated high school. And as a matter of fact, as you know, if you're in show business, I got a call from the vice principal of a school that I never heard of before, John Marshall High School, I think it's called.
Wow.
Because I went to a girls' school and I went to studio school. Could I come over and do two tap dances at the graduation uh, proclamation time? And my dad says, sure, she can. And so
Wow.
that's what I did, and that's how I got my diploma. But it, 18 is very important too, because it has to do with being young in show business. At least then, I told the people over at UK that one of the things that we really always needed as a child actor, particularly a girl, but it could be a boy. And I said, I'm going to use an old fashioned word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you've ever heard of men called wolves before,
Hmm.
but that's what they were called then when they were looking at every young thing that came along and how they were going to get involved with that, how they could. And we had more wolves on the MGM studio lot.
Wow.
I mean, I thought they all howled. So I was very protected by her, my mother. And the lady asked me, the director asked me, well, it's said about Elizabeth Taylor's mother that she was really mean and tough with the studio, didn't give a darn, and so on and so forth. Well,
What was
I did
that?
it. I turned off my own clock. Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. Anyway, so they said that she was tough and so on. And I said, listen, with all those wolves around and all those agents trying to step in and get her contract and so on and so forth, if I had been in Elizabeth's place, I would have been thrilled to have her money there. Oh, but they didn't know that. Our mothers kept us so close that I'm sure that when Elizabeth married Nicky Hilton when she was 18, that she knew nothing about the facts of life. None of us did.
Right.
It was quite a time. But I was going over into television at that time, falling in love with it. Making motion pictures is so dull. It's so
Wow.
long. And sometimes in that big sound stage, but of course, except for the time when I got the call, I was working at Fox on a big movie as an assistant dance director, and I got the call from my agent. Would you like to hear about how I got cast as Tinkerbell?
I absolutely would love to hear that.
Well, I'm not letting you do any talking. Why don't you say something and then lead me up to it as only a host of a talk show can do?
Well, thank you very much. I'm curious. So, what did you think when you got into TV after being in film? Did you like that experience a little bit better?
I loved television. What you did was right then. It's like doing what we're doing here. There may be a little editing, but it's out there. It's out there. And I had some friends in the movies that they would do a big movie and they would send it to one editor and then they would change that and then they would go back and shoot them all. And maybe a year and a half later, the movie would come out. And of course, their career depended upon people seeing them. So television, I was at W6XAO. It was before it even had call letters. And it turned into KTLA, Channel 5.
Wow.
I had my own television show on Channel 13 called Teleteen Reporter. And then I was doing 172 shows for ABC Network as Charlie Ruggles' daughter on the Ruggles Show, the first family sitcom that they did.
Wow.
At the same time, I did, we were working on everything then. You know, we didn't know what was coming. Was television going to win? Was cinema going to win? Was radio going to win? You know, what was going to win? So we were doing everything.
And how many networks were on at that time? Do you know?
I guess there were 4, and one of them dropped out.
Okay.
There was NBC, CBS. There was a mutual broadcasting company. And then there was ABC, which we call the Almost Broadcasting Company.
Okay.
Because it was so new. We cleaned out the bat guano on the stage that we worked on.
Oh, wow.
We didn't personally, somebody else did. But it was quite amazing and such fun. We had 3 sets on the big sound stage. And the cameras would go from one set to the next set to the next set for the different shows. And there was a chef, Boyardee, I think his name was.
Okay.
Close anyway. Who would forget that there were live shows going on, and he would come in singing at the top of his line an aria from some Italian opera, and this was being recorded as we were doing this very dramatic scene. It was hilarious and wonderful. I did 172 shows without a break, and we did them twice.
So how many, were you recording once a week or a couple shows?
We recorded 2 of them once a week, yes.
Okay.
We had one for the East Coast.
Okay.
Yes, and then one for the West Coast. I think it's just the opposite. I don't remember. I'm 92, you know, so I don't know.
Man.
I don't know. You're doing really well. Your memory is really good.
And then I did a big dancing show for them with Tommy Noonan and Peter Marshall called Let There Be Stars. And while I was doing that, we finished the Ruggles show, and I was over at Fox. And here's that big part. I get a call one day. We're doing a big dance number. Gloria DeHaven and June Haber and Dan. Oh dear, he's trying to dance. Wonderful man. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're doing this big for I'll Get By is the name. And I get a call from my agent. I'm about 18, 19, right around in there. Can you get off work tomorrow because I want to send you on an interview. It's for a 3.5-inch Sprite who doesn't talk. And
Wow.
I said, oh, Carol, I don't really, it's a big deal. We're getting ready to shoot it. And she said, it's a Disney. I said, I'll be there at 6 a.m.
Wow.
And that's the way everybody felt. They really, that I knew. That
Anything to do with Disney, everyone wanted to be part of it.
To work at Disney would have been. And you probably know how small the Disney studio lot is. I mean, it's small as compared to any place else. So that night, I put together a pantomime of a little boy, about 9 years old, fixing breakfast. Juggling eggs, and dropping them, and trying to get away and all that sort of thing, because I knew that I had to do more than say, hi, cast me in the role.
But did they give you much description? I mean, did you have much information going into the audition?
None, not a bit. And so I got there, and lo and behold, the man with the clipboard had my name. Showed me where to park on the lot, and where I should go in the building on the 3rd floor. And I went up to see this man who turned out to be one of the great geniuses that I've ever known in my life. His name was Mark Davis, M-A-R-C Davis, one of the great animators and artists of Disney, one of the 9 Old Men. And he did Cruella de Vil, he did Mr. and Mrs. Worthy, he did Thor and Thumper, he did things for, what's the one where she turns into a pumpkin, turns into a carrot?
Oh, Cinderella, right?
Yes, he did Cinderella.
Yeah.
And then he quit that, and of course he did Tinkerbell, but he quit that and switched over to designing, and designed Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, and and the sweetest man. So I walked into his office, and I carried my little a 45 player with me. You remember 45s with me?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked in and I set it down, and he's like, and there, up on his wall, were all these sketches of this little tiny pixie. And one of them, she's looking over, and I thought, and of course he wanted to sit down and talk to me, and I told him what I could do. So
Hang on, I'll be right back. I am so sorry, folks. The reason why I came back is I heard this beep, beep, beep going in the background. It's from the refrigerator. I thought it was from the refrigerator, but instead it was from the episode itself, but it was outside. Easy we want those free, but let's just continue on. What she was saying.
Bless his heart, we could not get the 45 player to play. So he jiggled with it. He called the Uber director to come down and see me, and they jiggled with it. And he actually got down on his hands and knees to find a plug to play. You wouldn't find that in any other studio in Hollywood.
Wow.
I was in love with both of them, you understand. So I did that, and I said, well, here's the scene that we want you to do. And have you seen the movie Peter Pan?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you remember the nursery scene?
Yes.
Where Tinkerbell comes in and she goes in all of the pockets and everything looking.
Mm-hmm.
And then she stops. And then she lands on a mirror,
Wow.
a big hand mirror that was on Wendy's dresser. And
Wow.
she's looking down at herself, and she sees, I played it as if she sees herself for the very first time. Who would have a mirror in Neverland? You know?
Right.
So
Wow.
I'm doing that, and then of course she gets angry when her hips are too big. Then she stamps off. And I stamped out almost into the hallway. And they like that. They told me later, Mark told me later that one of the things he liked that I was seeing down through the carpet, which I was, in my mind, was a mirror, and back up again. Now they've changed it a great deal now, Kerry, with giving it, well, she was preening. She
Wow.
was preening. She's only about 9 or 10 years old.
Right.
So she was just surprised. Is that me? So, well, time moves on. Anyhow.
Right.
So it was either then or the next weekend they called up and said,
Mhm.
would it be convenient for you to come to work next Tuesday? I have to tell you, nobody has ever asked me in the business before or since, would it be convenient to come by? It's be there.
I've been there in the business for 30 years, and I've never had
Wow.
that. No one has ever said that to me.
See?
Wow.
Well, what was going on was I was under contract to come to them when we could both find the time because he would sketch it out the next scene. So I was also working at Fox, finishing that up. I was also doing my TV show and radio. So it was
Wow.
like that all around. So anyway, we went on a sound stage, and he told me, he showed me what Tinkerbell's scene was.
Mm.
And it happened to be the mirror. And so before I did anything, I stepped out in front of the big 35 millimeter camera. We had about 12 on the crew and all the lights and everything. And I
Wow.
said, Mr. Davis, see how long ago that was? We call people Mr.
Wow.
Mr. Davis, what do you want it to be? Do you want it to be ditzy like Debbie Boo? Or do you want it to be above it all like Queen of the Fairies? And he said very sweetly and softly, Margaret, we want her to be you.
Oh.
And I said, gosh golly, I think I can do that. So he never told me what he wanted the acting to be, but just I had to hit my marks and whether that was going to be. And he never gave me any direction except once. He said,
Mhm.
I wanted to look huffy. I said, how huffy? And he, that genius, took a piece of paper this big and a sketch, and he sketched the face of Tinkerbell in about 30 seconds, turned it around, and there is what he wanted.
Wow.
I knew he was a genius, and he was a dear man. We met many, many, many times, signing things and with his wonderful wife, and she made all of the costumes. She was a costume designer. She made all the costumes for Pirates of the Caribbean. She made costumes even before that for It's a Small World. She was a wonderful lady.
Wow.
So had you done anything like this before?
No. I was 19 years old. I could do anything.
Mm.
Also, I had so much behind me of all the work that I had done all of those years
Wow.
that it was, you know, when I was in our gang, I was in 8 of those. And I was sort of a blur. I never had a name, but I was there. And it was run over here and smile. So what kind of a smile? A happy smile? A scared smile? You know, you just, it comes part of you. Look over there and cry. With tears, without tears. And then you realize the difference between comedy and drama. And when I worked in Rebecca, I was skipping rope in one of the scenes in Rebecca. And we weren't supposed to look at this huge car that was driving up. It was interior, exterior kind of a scene. And, but like, you're not supposed to look because nobody's looking. Nobody in the whole, all the extras and atmosphere people are not looking purposely. So you do it with your eyes as it goes by, even though you're jumping around.
Wow.
It sort of becomes part of you. It still has.
Now, when you were doing this, were you acting with anyone else, or was it just
No,
you?
I was all by myself. And what was wonderful, I didn't have to learn any lines. Now, when Mark asked me to be the red-headed mermaid in the lagoon, which I did, I had lines, and I worked with two others, the other mermaids, and so we had to play off of each other. I'm sitting here desperately trying to think of at 92, can't even remember my own age. At 92, the days come and go, and she is the great voiceover of. I'm getting worse at it.
You're doing great.
What is her name? She's
Exactly.
She played the dark-haired mermaid. And we both decided that day, along with Connie Hilton, I'll think of it then. We all decided, why were we fighting to get parts in front of the camera? Why aren't we just going into voiceover?
So.
And the people who are watching this are trying to tell me, I'm sure.
Trying to tell me too.
Bullwinkle, and she is. Who was with Bullwinkle?
Rocky.
Rocky.
She's Rocky.
Oh.
June Foray. Oh, for heaven's sakes, the great June Foray was playing a dark-haired. Thank you for your thoughts, everybody. I could feel that. Yes, I really could. And of course, she went on to be one. She played Mulan's grandmother in Mulan, and I would tease her unmercifully when we saw each other. We would just give each other a terrible time doing voices. Wow. And I said, June, the greatest part that you ever did was Mulan's grandmother, and you had the greatest line in the movie. She said, I did. I said, yes. Do you remember Mulan came back and had all the medals on a horse with a sword? She was victorious and so on. And the grandmother's line in it, Betty, you should have come back as bringing us a man. And
wow.
And I said that. I said, yes, you did. It's my favorite. So every time I'm bringing you a man, that's what we would say to each other.
Wow.
It's been a great life. It really has.
So, how long because I'm so curious about all this, how long did it take to film all of your Tinkerbell parts?
It went over 9 months.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Because I came and left. One of the funny things you might like to, a little side bit.
Sure.
By the way, may I be marketing?
Of course.
All of these stories are in my book, Tinkerbell Talks, which
wow.
you can get on my website, Tinkerbell.
Which y'all have to read as part of book reviews. Continue on.
Talks.net. Or you can get it at Amazon. I don't sign for Amazon, but I do sign up for my website. But Tinkerbell, there's a whole story about their pictures of me meeting Walt Disney. So
wow.
And we Margaret, we will promote that as well. We'll put all your sites and we will promote that and get that out so people can get this wonderful book.
Well, Walt Disney, I'm in the center of the stage with Walt Disney at the studio. Let me go back. I'm at the center of the stage, and I'm working there with the camera and all the rest. And one day, the big door opens. You know, the one that lets all the trucks in, because I have no lines to match.
Right.
And in walk all these people, and I could see the shadow of them. And let's see, I'm gonna try. You can see it, I think, down there.
Yes.
Wow.
And Buddy Ebsen walked in first, and you couldn't miss Buddy Ebsen.
Yes.
And I walked over to the wall where I was working in that sound stage. And they were planning and thinking and they were figuring out how big the character should be with a human being. Well, it was the beginning of animatronics and the little man.
Wow.
And when they would finish talking, Walt Disney would walk over to talk to Mark Davis and see how it was going with Tinkerbell. And the cameraman was a friend of his, and he came over, and I was invited to talk with them. And I'll tell you, I was like a school kid. You see, I had been trained since I'm 4 years old that nobody ever sees the head of the studio.
Wow.
And if you do, you're supposed to curtsy. You're supposed to just stand in awe because the head of the studio is like God. And I'm standing there looking at the head of the studio. So we chatted just a little bit, and I'm like a schoolgirl. And he leaves, very nice, and he comes, and another time it happens. So this time, I'm better prepared. And the third time that it happened, suddenly I said, "Hey, wait a minute, that's Walt Disney."
Wow.
I was always remembered as the head of the studio. That's how all of those things could get in your mind. So I had just spoken to, I don't know, Jerry Geronimi, the Uber director, or Mark Davis, saying that I went to school with the Disney girls, Sharon and Diane, just in conversation. And I don't know, I guess they told him because I'm standing there and Mr. Disney says to me, "I understand you went to school with my daughters."
Wow.
I went almost blank. I said, "Yes, Sharon and Diane, they were in different classes, but yes, Monticello School for Girls." And he said, "Oh, I remember that place." And I had no comeback. And he finished and he came back and said something to me just from that. He said, "I think they must have liked you," or something like that. And I thought, "You are a handsome man, slim, trim, and you are a gentleman." And I walked away. And the fourth time, I was pretty good at talking with him. So, and why was Walt Disney using Soundstage 1 when I was using Soundstage 1?
Wow.
Didn't he have his own? You know the answer?
No.
And he had one soundstage.
Oh.
That's all they had at that time.
Wow.
So that's how I got the job. I loved
Wow.
it.
So, what was it like when it came out and you got to see this, the amazing movie?
I was delighted. I was not invited to the premiere. I was invited to the second premiere.
Okay.
But you see, it was interesting because the first posters that they put out for Peter Pan, with Peter standing up like this, the tall posters that they did. Tinkerbell is not on the poster. They never thought that she was going to be anything.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, there was a mix-up with the publicity department, public relations department, the media department, let's put it that way. Because at one time, Tinkerbell was going to start out as with dark hair.
Wow.
And as I understand, and then they changed that to a red hair. But the lady who ran Technicolor, one whose name is always up, I'd be great if I could remember her name, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, they said the red hair does not play well against all the greenery for Technicolor.
Makes sense.
So they changed her to a blonde, but they forgot to tell the public relations media department. So all the little magazines that go out to the movie houses,
Right.
said, the little redhead runs in and out, and that's the way they started it. See, Tinkerbell wasn't going to be anything, and everybody loved her, but you realize that Mr. Disney never made a sequel. So Tinkerbell was going to be put on the shelf, and that was that.
Yep.
So, okay, and along with all the other things. Well, they came to Mr. Disney, as I understand it, the board and the people in the know through his brother to say, if you're going to make this park, whatever that is, in a place called Anaheim, we're afraid of it. We don't think it's going to work, and we don't want you to use any of the characters that are known for Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, any of them.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine that? But Walt Disney was smart enough, as I understand it from people who were there, was smart enough to say, I understand where they're coming from. So he told his brother after he thought it over, tell him I'm bringing back Tinkerbell and Jiminy Cricket. Will that satisfy them?
Wow.
And he said yes. So when it opened, Tinkerbell was on every ticket, on every banner, every place. And so was Jiminy Cricket. And the first ride that they did, really, one of the first rides was Peter Pan. And that was the reason, because Tinkerbell was being presented. But just so many people can go to a park and, and know about Tinkerbell. But when Walt Disney ran out of money, and they went to ABC and said, would you like to put in about $6 million and be a partner in the park? And we will give you, I'm probably quoting this incorrectly, so I'm not precise. We will give you an hour show every Sunday from our walls and all of that, and the best thing that we can do, and I'm sure all the promotion that they could do. So ABC said yes. NBC turned them down, and I think CBS turned them down.
And I remember this. I remember this very well.
So anyway, and I think it's Walt Disney that did it. I've never found out. But he talked to Tinkerbell, who took everyone on an adventure every Sunday, and she became part of their lives. And that's how she became so popular.
And what did you think when all of a sudden this movie you've done, and all of a sudden this character is becoming really popular, and it's just continued to grow over the years?
Well, not much. I knew many, many people who love fans who knew me through the park and so on. But a thing happened that was called Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And celebrity shows. And suddenly celebrity shows popped up every place. And suddenly little old Tinkerbell was a celebrity at the shows. I have been to shows that have been rather a disappointment because of many different reasons. And there's always a line at Tinkerbell. Always a line lined up for me to sign. She's amazing. In my book, there's a story about a lady who came to me at one of the shows, and she was shaking. She was quivering.
Wow.
I said, what is the... She said, I never thought I could thank somebody who saved my life. And
Wow.
I'm thinking, we got a live one here or something, I make it down.
Right.
But she said, no. She said, I weighed almost 300 pounds. I had to have both knees replaced. And of course, I'm looking at this wonderful woman who's standing here 35, 38 years old, with this wonderful short bob, curls, and dark hair. She looked adorable and trim as could be. So I said, well, that's wonderful. She said, what I did was I started to get so depressed that all I could think was horrible thoughts. And I thought, who thinks happy thoughts? Tinkerbell. So she had Tinkerbell tattooed on her leg. And every time that she thought an unhappy thought, she'd go, no, happy thoughts. And I'm still thinking, I'm listening. Well, her 12-year-old daughter was there with her, and she said, that's exactly what happened. And this lady who's in the book, you'll see the picture of the tattoo, as a matter of fact, is one of 4 people, women particularly, have come up and told me that Tinkerbell saved their lives. I mean, that's what's important. And And I get invited every place. I've been to London, I've been to Toronto, I've been to New York, I've been to about 7 different states. I have 5 more shows to do, one of which is in Michigan. I've never been there for her. That's coming in
It's a
November.
wonderful place.
It is.
It is. I was just there actually in Michigan.
Oh.
We have family up there.
So now I'm going to be quiet and you're going to talk for a little while.
Well, I love hearing this, and I love hearing what you're just saying because, I played the role of Barney for 22 years,
Yeah.
and I got that opportunity as well to touch people's lives,
Yes.
and it's such a gift, and you don't realize it a lot of times. You're part of this character, and you love it, and you love people, and next thing you know, you realize that you're touching people's lives. It's really something very special.
All the stories, the individual stories we could tell. I'll tell you the individual story.
Okay.
I was going to shut up, but I didn't. Anyway,
No, I love hearing your stories.
I was in North Carolina.
Okay.
I did a show up there. And my brand new husband and I had gotten off a boat that took us around and showed us the bay up there at Hilton Head. And on board the boat, my husband found some people who had relatives who were in the same outfit in World War II as he was. So they got to talking about that. Over here on this side is this wonderful family, grandparents, who had 2 little grandkids, and this little grandson who was having a miserable day. He wouldn't look at anybody. He wouldn't turn his back. He didn't want to hear anybody. He didn't want to look at the water. He just was having a terrible day.
Wow.
Well, we got up finally halfway through the time, and we went to the bow of the boat, and we sat down and talked to other people. When they got off the boat, my husband has me by the hand, and we're walking up towards our car, and I hear this little voice say, "Tinkerbell, Tinkerbell." And I turn around, and there he is. I think his name was Ewan. And he was about this big around and about 11 years old, 10 years old. He said, "Can I give Tinkerbell a hug?" No. Of course you can. And we stood there and hugged each other. I said, "You've had a rough day, haven't you?" And he goes, "Oh." And I said, "It's going to get better now, right? You've hugged Tinkerbell, right?" Like this. We gave each other an eye. Off he went. Now, that is magic.
It is.
That is magic. Because
it is.
Kerry, I am too tall to be Tinkerbell. Right?
Yeah.
She is, when they describe her, she's a fairy. She is no bigger than your hand and still growing. She is dressed in a skeletal leaf, cut low and square, which shows her figure to best advantage. And that's Tinkerbell. And that's what Mark Davis took and made into this precious, precious little thing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I want to talk here while we got a little time about voiceover because you continue to go.
Oh. You know Hal Smith? Have you worked with Hal Smith by any chance? He was the drunk Otis on the Andy Griffith Show. I did the Andy Griffith Show. I'm going up to Mayberry in September to Mayberry.
Yeah, Hal Smith was, Otis. Yeah, he's also not drunk on Return to Mayberry reunion movie. Continue on.
He's up in Mount Airy. We have about 6,000 people who come, and we have actors who are dressed. They're wonderful. Tribute actors, I finally get the right word. And I tap dance on stage. And that's where I met my husband, my new husband, face to face 2 years ago. Up at Mount Airy.
Wow.
And he loves to hear my dialects. Which ones do you do particularly?
Which voices? No, so I don't know I don't do the voice. I was actually in the costume.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, so I didn't do the. I've never done voices. Yeah, no. So I was the one dancing and jumping and doing all of that. I
Oh,
did.
I thought you did the voice. It's been a long time since I've
No,
seen the flip of that.
no, because it was so physical. There had to be two people, so there was someone doing the voice. So I was kind of like you're doing with Tinkerbell. I was doing all the movements, and I did it on tour. I did the TV show, and traveled the world.
Well, there's just nothing like it entertaining. If that's in your blood, if that's what you're doing, and you're doing something that you love. I could have been the actress who had her throat slit in Psycho.
Really?
That would
Wow.
have been fun at all.
No.
I didn't go for that. So I am so thankful that it's Tinkerbell and look at all the things that people still see. The Little Rascal, the Lone Ranger, the Three Stooges, the what I left out one, uh, and Tinkerbell, and then the movies that you see, and they're all healthy and delightful and fun.
Okay.
And everybody keeps seeing them because they turn on YouTube and
Right.
Right.
Which, by the way, I started a YouTube channel like 14 years ago. Continue on.
Well, let's do all those really quickly. What was it like, Little Rascals?
Say it again.
Little Rascals. What was it like being on that?
Oh, the Little Rascal. I was the white naked. The what is that? It's a camera. Oh, that what that is. And my mother. Oh, my mother was the one. She would do everything as if I were deaf and dumb, as she would stand and go.
Man. This is a silent film, by the way.
She would give me all these signs, and I'd be standing there watching her instead of paying attention to the one who's coming by.
Wow.
It turned out that the director of three of the Little Rascals was Gordon Douglas. And when I did the movie with Eddie Cantor, the director was Gordon Douglas.
Wow.
So it was sort of, really? You mean you come back and you actually see the same people maybe years later?
Right.
That was amazing to me. It took what? And I played, Mr. Cantor decided that he's the one who changed my name to Margaret Carey.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well.
And I will do a dialect for you in a minute if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
So my name was Peggy Lynch, which is an Irish name.
Yeah, which I saw Wikipedia early in the episode. Continue on.
Adopted as everybody else. My parents never told me who my real folks were or anything. So I always sort of knew I was Irish. There was just something about it. I was Irish. And I used to tell this story, and then later on, quite often. But let's see if I can do it. This is an Irish pub we're in, and they're knocking it back pretty good. They're doing just fine, and they're talking about the troubles in Ireland and all the rest. And he said, I don't know, it's too much trouble to be Irish. And the other one says, oh, you couldn't say that, man. No, it's great to be Irish. Really?
Oh.
Let's go over and ask Paddy what he thinks. So they go over to where Paddy is sitting there, and he's knocking them back pretty good. He's hunched over, and they said, Paddy. He said, what is it? He said, what would you be if you weren't Irish? I'd be ashamed.
Wow.
So we get lots of that, but 50 years later, I found my whole family, and I can say I'm Irish, 100%. No, I have a little Scots in me too.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
So we did all these different. We stand at the microphone doing all these shows. Clutch Cargo, the new Three Stooges, Charlie Weaver, all the cartoons that we were doing for Saturday morning. And for example, I'd say, Hal, I'm supposed to do a German accent here. I don't know a German accent. He says, you do not know a German accent. He
Wow.
says, come over here. I will tell you, you have to have a window. You have to have a sentence that has a good word in it. I have to have a sentence? He said, yeah. He said, I give you my sentence. My sentence is, she was looking out the window when I saw her. He said, she'll be talking German. I went back, picked up the script, and I could do German. That's the way we learned.
I love it.
And we don't do dialects anymore. They're out of season.
Right.
And I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. But all the dialects that I do are broadcast dialects. They're not true dialects. Because if you did a true French dialect, no one could understand them in a cartoon.
Right.
You just have to, you make it just so you know you are not with the United States. So you like, it is wonderful this
Man.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
What was it like doing the Three Stooges?
I did 139 episodes with them, and I'm all right. They were adorable. They were just adorable. They were all done by the two wives, by Moe's wife, Mrs. Howard, and Larry's wife. And these two ladies were wonderful. They would sit over, they would have their chairs next to each other, and they would start talking to each other very low, as if they hadn't seen each other for 5 years. And if they thought it was taking too long, you would hear one of them say, Mo, darling, it's getting late. They do the scene like that and get it done. It was just great fun. I have another voice that goes with it because I did all the girls' voices in that. I did the witch and all the other stuff. But we were in a recording.
Man.
And Larry has a speech impediment. It's not huge, but it's sort of mushy when he talks. I'm doing it now a little bit so you can hear it. Well, he had a line as we were recording that said, Mo, do you see the ships that are coming to save us? And Mo said, we can't understand you, Larry. Would you say it so we can understand what you're saying? Oh, I'm sorry, Mo. Okay, rolling. Okay.
Okay.
Mo, do you see the ships that are coming to save us? Is that a lot better?
Wow.
Couldn't hear the difference, and yet he could do it. And he many of these things, Larry was always sort of, And the other thing was, if Mo Howard combed his hair back, we could go to lunch with him, and people didn't recognize him.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah. It was an interesting time. It really, really was.
Did you have a favorite project? I don't know how you could, because you did so many iconic things. I was going to say.
That project is my favorite one. I'm writing a book about what happened to me, about somebody finding me after 70 years and getting married.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yes, it's an amazing story. Do we have time to tell it?
We do.
Okay, if I may.
Oh, please.
Wow.
I had been in Southern California for 90 years, and on my 90th birthday, I knew I was leaving California.
Wow.
And my friends would say, well, where are you going? I said, I have no idea. I just know I'm leaving. It will happen. And the door will open. So about 2 weeks after my birthday in May, or 3 weeks, something like that, in June, I get an email that said, would you like to get in touch with your friend of 70 years ago? His name is Robert Bokey. I remembered Bokey. I remember him so well. We dated all that time where I was starting to do Tinkerbell and the other things that I was doing. And we dated, I would say, maybe 8-10 times.
Wow.
So I said that and said, of course, I would love to. And I went over to my poor dilapidated jewelry box and pulled out this little bracelet that he gave me 70 years ago.
Wow.
And I kept it and my mother's wedding ring. Those are the only two that I kept. I thought, this is interesting. So I got a call from France. He was at the 75th commemoration of D-Day, and he was being honored. He was a hero in World War II. And he called me and we got to talking. Well, I had all these shows lined up. You understand? And we're talking.
Right.
We're in June. I mean, I must have had 10 shows lined up to do. So I'm getting close to, and we're having a lovely time chatting. We just are.
Wow.
And I know I'm going to Mount Airy, North Carolina. And Robert lives in South Carolina. And somehow I'm thinking maybe he can come there. I don't know how you fly in. So I suggested to him. And he said, well, I'll see what I can do, but I have to have my 94th birthday party first. I said, fine. So he had his 94th birthday. And a couple of weeks later, he gets in his car and drives 8 hours to Mount Airy, right almost into Virginia. And the reason we're in Mount Airy, that is Andy Griffith's birthplace.
Wow.
And
Mayberry, okay.
Main Street. And used a lot of things.
Yeah. One of the most things that Mayberry did, a great show from the 1960s. Continue on.
Main Street for the show. And we have about 60,000 fans all over the United States that we know. So it's a big deal. So anyway, they have a golf tournament, and then they have a big dinner before a lot of the stuff happened. And I said, meet me in the clubhouse where we're setting up for the dinner, and I'm signing autographs there at 4 o'clock. You come at 5, and we'll all be ready. So he comes walking in. I look at him, and he looks at me, and I swear to you, it was love at second sighting.
Wow.
We just looked at each other, we kissed, and the newspaper man was there and took pictures of it. The next morning, this is what I love this one. The next morning, he said we have to have dinner, breakfast together. So we met at the Cracker Barrel. Yes, that's called. And he said, opening line, he said, I have to buy a new house for you.
Wow.
What? He said, well, I can't live where I am because nothing happens there. You need people. You need people. So I'm going to have to do that. But he added, he said, it has to be near a Costco's. And I said, wait a minute. You're a member of Costco? He said, yes. I said, do you have a Costco card? He said, yes. You will let me use your Costco card? He said, yes. I said, will you marry me? And he said, we'll have to put all of that together.
Wow.
So he went back home and started looking for a house. And he went to Sarasota and he bought a beautiful home. And
Wow.
Then I was completing all of my shows, taking no more shows then. And the Disneyana Fan Club, which is huge, was putting on one of their famous dinners. And 6 months before, they had asked me to be the speaker. And I had said yes. So that was when I knew about that I had to be there. Well, I thought, you get married and somebody else is throwing you a party. How good can that be? So I figured it out. And we could get married on St. Valentine's Day at the Little Brown Church in the Valley in Studio City.
Wow.
And I figured there's going to be about 10 of us. Ended up there with 41. Disney opened up their gates to all of us, and we went all over it. They showed us everything. And then the next day we got married. And then the next day we went to the big party at the Smokehouse across the street from Warner Brothers. And then the next day at Walt's Barn, which is a beautiful place in Griffith Park, right next to the live steamers. And we had 400 people there. And so many producers, I think, came. It was wonderful. And they met Robert, And people came and we signed and so on. And the next day he flew me off to Sarasota. I drove up and to the house at 9 o'clock at night. I took a look at it. It's beautiful. Walked in, and can you believe it was completely decorated? All the furniture was there. Everything was there. And then he said, "I've got to make you dinner." He's a cook.
Wow.
And he is so brilliant. And then the book and things, his stories are, some of them are blood curdling of what he had to do in the war. And but look at that, wonderful stories. So we decided that the book is going to be called Love at Second Sighting.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. What a wonderful story.
It is. Only God. I really believe. I mean, I forgot to tell you how he found me. I forgot
Okay.
that. So he's going on tour with all these people before he goes to Omaha Beach, and they get on a ship, but they have to fly into Amsterdam. So he is driving by to see what Amsterdam is like. And way over there is a store that says Tinkerbell's Toys.
Wow.
And he turns to his friends and said, "Did I ever tell you that I dated Tinkerbell 70 years ago?" And they said,
Wow.
"Let's find her."
Wow.
They found my website. They found, all the things about me. And he said, "She won't remember me."
Wow.
I tell you.
Beautiful story.
It's your turn to talk.
No, I tell you, this has just been such a pleasure, Margaret.
See this pin? I hope.
Yes.
Okay. He bought that for my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Boy, you've had a blessed life, and you've touched so many people's lives.
Yes. It's just, it's wonderful. And I thank God every single day. I really do. It's just amazing. And the wonderful characters that Disney has all over the place. I have a dear friend who just did a new painting, commission of Tinkerbell. Not for me, but for somebody else. And he was telling me the commissions that he gets, and there are many of them. He's about 2 years behind in his commission. The two that he gets requests for Mickey Mouse and Tinkerbell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's amazing after 69 years.
Wow.
It is amazing.
Yes.
Well, it's an iconic
That's
character.
Mark Davis. That is Mark Davis. He's the one who imbued her with this absolutely incredible, delightful. Well, you love her. I call her beguiling. You love her if she's bad. You love her if she's good.
Well, it has just been a pleasure talking to you, Margaret.
And to you. And you're more listening to me than talking with me. I just got going.
No, you have so
Wow.
many beautiful, wonderful stories. I was so excited to talk to you and to hear all these great stories.
Well, I'm delighted to do it, and I love to tell them because they're very, very special. And I think Disney is very special. And
Yeah.
I know Tinkerbell is. So,
Well, and I know you are too. I can't thank you enough for being on the show.
so here's faith and trust, and here's a whole bunch of pixie dust. Bye.
Still.
Thank you so much for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you find your purple road. We'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Roads, episode number 74. Margaret Carey of Tinkerbell. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. Though, it did have some ups with the Tinkerbell Happy Thoughts with Faith, Trust, and Pixie Dust. It was good, but, that's just me. Margaret. And for those of you watching Disney's Peter Pan, I'm glad you watch it. And it was a 1953 movie that Margaret Carey was in, but that's just me. Anyways, guys, double episode LJPCBM, episode number 696. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one's going to be LJPCBM, episode number 697. Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, episode 1. Now, man, excuse me, I gotta eat my lunch to do in order to do Lunchtime Votes and Social Club episode 139. That's coming up next. But first, these episodes which I'm taping right now. Till next time, so Joe's goodbye. Peace out, baby. Get more videos, guys, very soon. Till then, Joe's out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.